Assalamu alaikum. I'm very happy to be talking to someone जो कि international standards के साथ aligned है. जब भी हमारे बच्चों की बात होती है, I think one of the greatest fears is कि जो भी इधर लोग हमारे local systems हैं, whether they are skills, education, academics, क्या वो at par हैं with international standards? And as mothers, I think हम लोग ज़्यादा worry करते हैं. I'm very happy to be talking to Sadaf Rehman, जो कि एक बहुत interesting and exciting school चलाती हैं, जिसका नाम है Code School, right? And she is somebody who's done so much already. इनका इसलिए थोड़ा सा introduction मेरे लिए challenging भी है कि मैं क्या बात करूं क्या नहीं. 17 years she's been working, a gold medalist, and ये वो लोग नहीं होते कि जो जिन्होंने खुद गोल्ड मेडल नहीं होता वो थोड़ा सोच रहे होते हैं कि क्या बात करनी है क्या नहीं करनी. But anyways, lovely to have you, Sadaf.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking out the time and having me on your platform.
So tell me about Code School. मुझे बताइए.
So Code School really started off as, what is the most important intervention that's needed in tech? And when I was kind of heading this skills training program, I was talking to a lot of tech leaders because we had this global skills courses that we wanted to bring to Pakistan. And the idea was कि सारी जो feedback हमें market से मिल रही थी, because Pakistan is churning out tens of thousands of students in this sector. And the feeling was that there's a lot of brain drain, so all the good quality candidates kind of go abroad. And perhaps the biggest area of weakness in the marketplace or trying to find people today was in behaviors and mindsets. And so जब आप behavior mindsets की बात कर रहे होते हो, then those are almost already set by the time you're 17, 18, or in your early 20s and you're entering the marketplace. And to truly make a difference in behavior mindset or bring about computational thinking and experimentation, you have to go further down. And so that's when I started looking at school or after school or supplementary programs to school that could help teach problem solving and computational thinking through coding.
That's wonderful. So for all of our viewers at Beti, मैं चाहूंगी कि आप explain करें coding होती क्या है.
बिल्कुल. अब देखिए coding, what's really important is कि coding programming सिर्फ प्रोग्रामर्स के लिए नहीं होती या सिर्फ एक सेगमेंट ऑफ सोसाइटी के लिए नहीं होती. और प्रोग्रामिंग या कोडिंग जो है, इट्स जस्ट अ वे ऑफ लाइफ, अ वे ऑफ इंटरैक्टिंग विद a phone, a computer, any software that involves coding. जैसे अगर आपको पता हो कि आप that Apollo की जो spaceship जो गई थी that went to the moon, the computing power in your cell phone right now today is greater than the power of a spaceship that got sent to the moon. But do we know how to use it? Do our children know how to use it? And we're entering a world where there's a crazy number, like a 40% of jobs that our children will be going into, they don't exist in the marketplace today. And so this whole conundrum of ये future of work, अब जो हम school सिखा रहे हैं बच्चों को, वो actually apply कर सकता है या नहीं कर सकता into this digital knowledge workplace. There's some things that we know for sure a child will always need. And they're critical 21st century skills. And those are things like problem solving, creativity, computational thinking. All of those things are really important. And so, but ये नहीं है कि boring तरीके से पढ़ानी चाहिए, right? Like
अच्छा, यहाँ पे बिल्कुल मैं थोड़ा सा बोलना चाहूंगी. When you think about coding, all of a sudden everything gets very serious and you're thinking, okay, it's not the arts, maybe it's going to be very dry, maybe I'm going to have a lot of trouble sitting my daughter, my son down for this. यहाँ पे मैं जरूर चाहती हूँ कि आप बताएं that you've made it very, very interesting for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. So, for me, my family has been coding or involved in the tech sector for generations, right? Like my father was studied coding, in the 70s, and at that time, computers are like the size of machines, and you have to put in code and punch cards. It was quite a very different experience. And for me, when my brother and I were learning coding, my brother is one of the co-founders of Code School as well. So when we were learning coding, it was really hard. There was a lot of syntax. It's very dry. एक bracket भी रह जाए तो फिर your code wouldn't run. But nowadays you have such fun interactive games, block coding. You don't even need to write a line of code to be able to make a game. And so kids today are really lucky that it can be really fun and interactive. And even in the older context, when I was growing up, our computer class in the 80s used to be so much of fun. Like it was so exciting. You're lining up and you're going to a lab, so it wasn't like
Out
regular
of class
instruction
experience.
out of class. We used to be very excited. हम बेचारे वही excited हो जाते थे. And then we would have to just kind of code games. And I remember logo एक होती थी, एक turtle आपको coordinates के जरिए move करना होता था from one screen to another. And the excitement कि when you would make it actually make a triangle or a circle or a star or whatever you wanted it to. And so those are the memories I have of coding, of it being very fun, very accessible, and where it's not like studying, it's just doing things that where you're learning on the side, and that's the experience that I wanted to bring through Code School.
Acha, we are remote learning. I don't know when things are going to get better. There's the hope that all of this goes away soon. So it is very important कि जो parents हैं वो बच्चों को घर पे एक ऐसी क्लास दे सकें जिससे लर्निंग भी हो, क्योंकि बहुत सी रिमोट क्लासेस में सदफ ये भी हो रहा होता है कि लर्निंग जो है ना वो बहुत ज्यादा हो नहीं रही होती. उसकी वजह यह है कि बच्चे इतना स्क्रीन टाइम पे कंसंट्रेट नहीं कर सकते, इतने ज्यादा क्लास में बच्चे होते हैं कि टीचर हर किसी को अटेंशन नहीं दे सकती. So I want to explain to you to explain to everyone why this class is perfect in terms of remote learning.
Yeah, so when obviously we kind of launched right at the beginning of the pandemic, and so summer was oncoming, and so online classes were a no-brainer. In our field tests, we learned that children, in the 5 or 6 year old age range, they are unfortunately, sorry, just 1 second. I'm so sorry.
No,
I
that's
hope
okay.
it's practice out, right? It's just that the whole household has decided to kind of walk in and make a lot of noise and leave the door open and do everything in these like
Yeah,
10 minutes.
that's Zoom interviews for you.
Oh gosh, sorry about that. So we were talking about online classes and fun. And so, yeah, so we started in the pandemic, and obviously online classes was the only thing that we could do, but we did field test. So field test में हमें पता लगा था कि जो शायद 5, 6, maybe even 7 साल के जो बच्चे हैं, they can code. Coding में उनको कोई मसला नहीं आ रहा था because it's so interactive and they were enjoying playing the game. But वो online format में it didn't work for them. It was a navigation between Zoom or some video conference to the other thing. तो वो उनको मजा नहीं आ रहा था. So for them, we've kind of reserved a parent-child hour of code. So a parent and a child can code together and have fun, and the parent can help with the piece that they're struggling with, that the child would struggle with. But then for 8 years onward, 8 to 13, we felt that worked perfectly fine, and it's an advantage as well. Because I do know that the pick and drop becomes an extra hassle for actual in-person classes,
Yeah.
right? So it's quite convenient, and for us that helped us scale. So online classes का मतलब था कि अब हमारे पास 8 मुल्कों से बच्चे enrolled हैं, in our online classes. For those who are abroad, the benefits we provide is that it's cheaper. we're delivering programs at maybe half the price that, you get online tutoring or online coding classes in, say, the US or Canada. And then also, of course, there's that, this camaraderie that gets built. You interact with students from different countries in your age group. All of you love coding. And so there's a little camaraderie that gets developed in these little classrooms, which I think perhaps, that international aspect doesn't quite come into a regular in-person classroom.
Absolutely. I think the variation of experience, and I don't think travel itni jaldi shuru hoga, the exposure at such a low cost, because we did discuss the cost of this, which I want you to share with everyone who's watching. वो exposure इतना incredible है, और उससे because I'm somebody who loves behavior change, उससे tolerance बढ़ेगी. You're meeting such lovely friends from, like you said, 7 से 8 मुल्कों के, तो मेरे ख्याल में ये बच्चों के लिए बड़ा wholesome experience होगा. हम थोड़ा सा budgeting पे जाएंगे कि a lot of people will have reservations कि what if it's too expensive, is there a certification, and how does one take this forward? So what would you say to that?
So we have two options available, and we've tried to really make it as affordable as possible, given that we need to have very highly qualified instructors. Because to find an instructor that knows coding and can teach children, it's a little harder and more expensive as a result. लेकिन हर महीने we have, I think the lowest amount is 6,900 rupees per month for students between 8 and 13 years of age. एक हमारा subscription model होता है. So, if you sign up for 9 months, so then it's much lower. You get 30% off. अगर आप सिर्फ 1 महीने का करो, so it's around 9,900. And this is for online instruction. अब हम 1-2 महीने में एक सिर्फ coding box भी launch करेंगे, जो हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं कोई 4-5 हज़ार के करीब तक हो, जिधर बच्चे को coding materials मिल जाएं, and we just want to make it a little more affordable. And then when we go on to a digital only option of getting coding challenges or materials just digitally, then that is going to be even cheaper.
That is incredible, because I was under the impression this is going to be more expensive, considering कि इतने ज़्यादा ममालिक इससे मुंसलिक हैं. इसके अलावा आप वही instruction दे रही हैं जो internationally दी जा रही है. Because I think that's like a point, that's a thing with you कि नहीं, हमारे बच्चे वही चीज़ सीखें जो दुनिया भर में सीखी जा रही है. सदफ, क्योंकि ये बेटी का प्लेटफॉर्म है, और I always look for the gender mainstreaming angle. अब मैंने कई जगह पढ़ा है कि बच्चियां जो हैं कोडिंग में बहुत इंटरेस्ट लेती हैं, and they do very well in this. Would you like to elaborate, or share what you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, I have some comments on gender and the tech sector in general. लेकिन जो हमारी classes में जो बच्चियां आई हैं, as you know, we all know this, right? Like girls perform better in structured school-going environments where boys find it a lot harder to sit still. And so we have found girls thrive in coding. We perhaps are getting to them at an age where they're too young to know they're not supposed to do coding, right? Or they haven't heard the narrative around coding कुछ और चीज़ है, कोई फर्क चीज़ है. If they all like playing computer games, and so वो उस शौक से आती हैं, and they actually do kind of perform really well in our classes. I haven't seen any gender difference in actual performance or understanding. I have noticed one thing, and it surprised even me. I have an 8-year-old son, right? So, I mean, for me, ये तो इतने छोटे हैं, अभी तो पैदा हुए थे, right? So, and अभी तक I've noticed, even already so early, I've noticed that girls are a lot more hesitant to do that piece of iteration. Iteration का मतलब है कि आप experiment और try out करो, और अगर fail करो, it's okay. So you have to try. We have these exercises where you have to try out which block will do what you want that character in the game to do. And so boys are almost a lot more confident or fearless even at this age. And so there's something going on around how we're internalizing this narrative of what it is that we're saying to girls, or maybe there's just some inherent shy personalities. I'm not sure what it is. But in the last 6 months or so that we've been giving classes, I have noticed by and large, on average, iteration is the one thing that girls struggle with because of a lack of confidence.
That for me is so interesting, Sadaf, because I think you're so right. Girls are asked to be ye mat karo, careful raho, zyada risks nahi lene. So I think, like you said, maybe this is what they've seen, or मैं नहीं ये कहती कि पेरेंट्स जान के इस तरह इंस्ट्रक्ट कर रहे होते हैं या पेरेंट्स जान के कोई डिफरेंस कर रहे होते हैं. बट अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स मैं ये हमेशा कहती हूँ कि 10 साल की उम्र से पहले ना बड़े बड़े ख्वाब देखे हैं मैंने बच्चियों के, और उसके बाद फिर एकदम से उनकी एनवायरनमेंट, उनकी सोशल स्ट्रक्चर, जो भी उनके हालात होते हैं, देयर इज अ चेंज. ऑल ऑफ अ सडन फिर वो शादी की बात भी करेंगी और फिर वो कहेंगी कि नहीं अम्मा ने ये किया था, अम्मा ने ये नहीं किया था. सो फॉर एग्जांपल पीपल लाइक यू आर अ ग्रेट एग्जांपल, a woman in tech who's excelling. पर आप जैसी बहुत कम एग्जांपल हैं. लेडी डॉक्टर्स मिल जाएंगी, टीचर्स मिल जाएंगी, नर्सेज मिल जाएंगी, और ये कुछ ऐसे करियर्स हैं जिनकी एक्सेप्टेंस बहुत ज्यादा है. सो इधर शायद हमें हिचकिचाहट नहीं नजर आएगी. बात आप बिल्कुल 100% दुरुस्त कह रही हैं कि हिचकिचाहट जो है ये years of certain kind of वो क्या कहते हैं कि behaviors हैं जो कि या reactions हैं, responses हैं to when we tell our environment, our parents, our relatives, our school teachers कि हमारे ये ख्वाब हैं, हम ये करना चाहते हैं. And perhaps we can learn something more about this later on. So एक सवाल जो मेरा है, ठीक है, एक बच्ची ने कोडिंग में इंटरेस्ट शो कर दिया, ये लॉन्ग टर्म एज अ करियर और प्रोफेशन कितना सक्सेसफुल होगा, फाइनेंशियली कितना स्टेबल है? बिकॉज अगर आप बच्चे का ध्यान इस तरफ लगा रहे हैं तो ये मैं चाहूंगी आप एक्सप्लेन करें.
जी जरूर. And so you called me a Pakistani woman in tech, and so I never identified as a woman in tech because of a lack of perhaps role models or whatever the reason was. I went into the non-profit sector and into the education side of things. Because for me, one of the biggest reasons why Code School is a sponsor for Pakistani women in computing, which is a platform, it's a global platform, बहुत मुल्कों में है, पाकिस्तान में भी है. It's so important for young girls today that are in STEM fields to have those role models and to see a path कि अगर आप graduate करो आपने किधर जाना है. क्योंकि अभी भी when you look at the stats, एक तो आप tech sector को देखें, let's take a step back in Pakistan in in general, right? Like Pakistan, एक World Economic Forum का survey हुआ था of 135 countries, and Pakistan was 134 when it came to the gender.
Yeah, I'm aware.
And so I imagine कि tech sector के अंदर भी वही मसले होंगे जो generally gender के मसले होते हैं in workplace. Things like conflicting priorities, hostile work environment, lack of policy support, lack of mentorship. There's always harassment, gender bias, all of these things that take an emotional toll almost on women in the workplace. लेकिन एक पाशा की study हुई थी in 2012, where only 14% of women are in the tech space. सिर्फ 14% औरतें हैं टेक स्पेस के अंदर. And our global trends we देख लें, women are 21% less likely to own a cell phone than men. Only
Yeah.
5% of women own startups. So I mean, this kind of place. अब बहुत काम भी हो रहा है. It's not like काम नहीं हो रहा. There's some great global initiatives around women in tech. There's some great local initiatives, things like Circle, Tech Karo. एक पाशा ने जेंडर डाइवर्सिटी अवार्ड्स भी शुरू कर दिए हैं. कोड फॉर वुमेन भी इधर आ गया है. So there's a lot of really good stuff happening. Lekin, I do think there's a lot of room for improvement in this area of, I mean, gender still remains a major problem in Pakistan and in the tech sector.
I absolutely agree with you. And I think I didn't have the kind of role model that I would have wanted. And so there were a lot of battles, internal battles that I had to fight. And I think internalized misogyny was one of the biggest factors for me. and I didn't believe in myself, and I बहुत देर लगती है, बहुत exposure की ज़रूरत होती है, बहुत से बुत आपने तोड़ने होते हैं before you can come to the stage जहाँ आप ये कह सकें कि कोई भी ये कर सकता है, if you put your passion, heart into it. जैसे कि मेरा सवाल वो ये था कि जो बच्चे इसको एज अ करियर लॉन्ग टर्म लेते हैं, उनके लिए फाइनेंशियली ये कितना स्टेबल है? बिकॉज अगर आप प्रोग्रामिंग कोडिंग के लिए करते हैं, जैसे अगर आपसे कोई लॉन्ग टर्म सर्टिफिकेशन लेता है, so how can they apply it in practical terms for their life?
Of course. I mean, a couple of things on how I would approach this. So, एक तो देखें दूसरी साइड से employer साइड से I think there needs to be more awareness that diversity, there's a business case for diversity. ठीक है, so the business benefits of diversity is के organizations that have more women or people from different backgrounds, whatever diversity means in the cultural context of the world, those organizations are successful. Data proves that they're consistently better at problem solving, they have higher market value, they attract a higher caliber of both male and female workers, productivity better hoti hai, sales zyada hoti hain, revenue zyada hota hai. So these are all documented trends between diversity and organizational success. And from the women's perspective, I do think tech is a great equalizer. It obliterates these traditional disadvantages that women have. So for example, अगर आप देख लें barrier to the workplace, सबसे बड़ा barrier है कि आपने घर से निकल के आपने कहीं जाना होता है. And in some contexts, that's a big deal. There's this idea in our culture about parda or about interacting on a day-to-day basis of working with men or in close proximity to men that are not relatives. It's a big cultural barrier and we should just acknowledge it, right? Things have changed. Things have changed dramatically, but at the heart of it, in some cultures, some families, this is the biggest barrier to women in the workplace. And so, इनका अब टेक में ये शायद मसला ना हो. अगर आप इमेजिन करें कि सबसे डिसएनफ्रेंचाइज सेगमेंट की आप पाकिस्तान के अंदर आप देख लें, सबसे डिसएनफ्रेंचाइज है एक लड़की जो शायद एक रूरल रिमोट विलेज में रहती हो. Right, I mean that if you have to kind of target into a segment, I think that's the most, she's least likely to have access to school, to healthcare, to justice. She's most likely to be a victim of child marriage, honor killing, maternal mortality, or be a part of a culture that where a daughter is considered a burden, and even a goat is considered an asset more than a beti, right?
Yeah.
So that segment के लिए अब देख लें कि maybe she has a skill that something like rilli, chunri, embroidery unko aati ho, shayad pottery unke culture ke andar ho, I'm not sure, but whatever it is, maybe she has one small skill. Now imagine she can get access to a cell phone and log into a global marketplace through Facebook or Instagram and sell her products directly and get money in a mobile wallet. I mean, she can do this only using tech without leaving her house. What a life changer that would be. Right? And why should we stop? In fact, vocational training pe hum ruk jate hain. Whenever we think about marginalized, we only think of vocational training or embroidery skills. Even go higher up the value chain. अगर YouTube tutorial के साथ coding अगर सिखा दी, या code school के साथ coding सीख ली, या जो platform हजार available हैं, अगर आप coding सीख लो, then you can take freelance gigs sitting right here in the home wherever you are and earn a living. All you need is this access to tech and access to internet and access to equipment. And so it's no longer this financial जो आपकी independence होती है, financial empowerment जो होती है, I think that's the antithesis. The antithesis to oppression.
Also, I think, let's be honest, so हम हमेशा ये सोचते हैं, oh, they are naturally good at this. What if I'm this woman who's not good at embroidery, who doesn't know how to, जो जितनी भी ट्रेडिशनल स्किल्स हैं जो कि सालों से होती आ रही हैं, मुझे कपड़े सीने नहीं आते, मुझे सुई, मतलब आई हैव ट्रबल डूइंग थिंकिंग ऑफ डिजाइंस, आई कांट डू अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स जो कि the only available choices मुझे लग रही हैं. And that also is a limiting factor for me. Maybe I'll give up the thought of ever being independent because all the choices that I'm given do not appeal to me as a person. And for me, this is very interesting. And I think जो सबसे बड़ा खौफ होता है ना फैमिली स्ट्रक्चर्स में, वो मुझे ये अक्सर ये लगता है कि वो ये होता है कि she's going to become independent of thought. जब वो एम्पावर्ड हो जाएगी तो उसको अपने राइट्स का भी पता लग जाएगा, उसके हाथ में अपने पैसे आ रहे होंगे, वो अपनी सोच तब्दील कर लेगी, वो उसको पता है कि नो आई कैन नाउ navigate my life and change the narrative and do so much more. So I think the element of control is taken away from the whole dynamic, and that is scary for a lot of people. Sadaf, this entire conversation is so interesting for me. And Beti and its platform is open anytime you want. And we would love to do more of these sessions of why you do this and the benefits of coding for children, and delve deeper on why there's a difference of behavior or learning. I think that's very interesting for me. Would you like to say something more?
Just some final parting thoughts, and I'll just take a minute more of your time. And so, you know, I mean, what is the traditional barrier? आज जो क्या है जो अगर एक बच्ची graduate भी कर रही है या what is the biggest kind of gap right now between a young person and employment opportunity, even if they have the right degree perhaps or the right technical skills? एक final गैप आ जाता है जो इतना बड़ा है. कोई आज दुनिया में तकरीबन 400 मिलियन लोग हैं जो इस गैप के अंदर फंसे हुए हैं और निकल नहीं पा रहे. And that's the skills gap. Now skills is typically, I found that because I've spent the last few years very deep into this, we found that skills gaps is not technical. The issue is behavior and mindsets. So you know, it's how do you it's even if you're a waiter, you know, it's not about just taking a order and running and getting it. It's about attention to detail. वाकई में diet Pepsi है या regular Pepsi order की भी है ताकि आप जाके लाओ. It's about a mindset of personal responsibility कि किसी और का काम नहीं है आपको पकड़ाना है diet Pepsi, आपने खुद जाके देख के सही order लाना है. So you know, it's not the technical skill. I've always found it's the behavior and mindset which contributes most significantly to the gap that we see today. And so, you know, I mean, we have to start young. We have to start behavior mindset change while the personalities are still forming in the schools. And so, you know, हमारे लिए at least in code school, जो छोटी सी एक उम्मीद है कि हम एक प्रोग्राम के जरिए या सिर्फ कोडिंग के जरिए हम 21st century skills, problem solving or computational thinking or creativity सिखा सकें बच्चों को. I mean, that's our overall mission or hope कि हम ये पाकिस्तानी बच्चों के लिए कर सकें.
I applaud the effort that you're making, because मुझे लगता है कि आप पाकिस्तान के लिए कर रही हैं, अपनी ज़ात के लिए कम कर रही हैं. So जाते हुए मुझे ये बताएं, so वो पेरेंट्स जो बिल्कुल आपसे कांटेक्ट करना चाहते हैं, अपने बच्चों को एनरोल करना चाहते हैं, थोड़ी सी डिटेल अगर आप उसके बारे में दे दें.
Gee, absolutely. Our website is codeschool.pk. We are on Facebook and Instagram as well. And sari information, all you need to do is, you know, click online कि आपका बच्चे का age group क्या है, and you know, that's it. That's all you need to do, and then we do the rest for you. We're available. You know, you can DM us on Instagram, you can Facebook message us, you can email us on info@codeschool.pk. You know, all of these avenues are available for parents to sign up. And we are really looking to scale this. We're really hoping we have a good program. We've seen really good results. And inshallah, उम्मीद है कि और भी parents अपने बच्चों को enroll करें.
बेशक, I hope for the same for you. And बेटी पे भी जो भी हमें queries आएंगी, we are going to forward those to you after the interview is uploaded. I wish you well for the future. And viewers, एक बात मैं कहना चाहूँगी, मैं इतनी inspire हो गई हूँ that I think I'm going to enroll my son Suleiman very, very soon. because मुझे लगता है अब mindless सी learning हो रही है. At times he's irritated. This sounds like a good plan to me. So this is something that I might even personally take up, and I would encourage all of you to also. और एक दिमाग में मेरे बात आई, अगर लैंग्वेज बैरियर है तो उसका क्या है? फॉर इंस्टेंस उर्दू, इंग्लिश, ये बैरियर का कोई वो तो नहीं है?
Our so our classes are taught in English medium classes हैं, लेकिन obviously instructors तो पाकिस्तानी ही हैं, तो वो हम जैसे अभी भी बात कर रहे हैं मिक्स उर्दू इंग्लिश में बात कर रहे हैं,
बिल्कुल
इंटरव्यू के दौरान भी तो इसी तरह क्लासेस भी पढ़ाई जाती हैं.
हाँ.
And we do have a program that we're looking to launch, which is purely in Urdu. एंड ये हम उर्दू लेसन प्लान्स भी, इंस्ट्रक्टर्स भी, और ये हम चाह रहे हैं कि हम फिर थोड़े से लो कॉस्ट स्कूल्स के साथ भी वॉलंटियर करके कोडिंग लो कॉस्ट स्कूल्स में भी पढ़ाएं.
Well, we look forward to that also, because that's another interview that's going to take place once you do this. Thank you so much, Sadaf, for your time. I had lovely time talking to you about this. I do not understand anything about coding, but this all sounds wonderful. Inshallah, aapse baat hoti rahegi. Thank you so much for your time.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.